All right, what's up, guys? What's up? What's up? Happy Monday. Tonight we've got a real treat. This is the Goblin Shark. And I think everything's just kind of like lining up really nicely. Just like the atmosphere, the music, the species. It's been a while since we've done. I think we've done a couple of classics lately, and this is like the first shark. I think it's been a couple weeks since we've done like a shark that is truly unique, truly in a unique family, and a unique branch as far as sharks go. So I'm really excited to dive into the species. A couple of people are on. What's up? What's up? Welcome back. Hey, Howard. What's up, man? Welcome back. Thank you so much for sharing your artwork. This is really, really fantastic. I think I've kind of I was about to say it's badass. I mean, it is badass. I hesitated because am I allowed to curse on this channel? I was like, but I've already done it already, so it's badass. This is super super cool. Thank you so much for sending this artwork on the Goblin Shark. With a giant isopod too. So this is kind of especially cool to see. We have giant isopods kind of like offshore Virginia, like down in Norfolk Canyon. I think in the Mid-Atlantic, in the mid-water canyons, or the deep-water canyons, we have a lot of those giant isopods. So they actually do surprisingly well in captivity. So I think aquariums are starting to get more, what's the word? More giant isopods with them. Let me turn the music down really quick, by the way. I didn't think it would be this loud. I've got Metroid Other M for tonight, which I heard is not a great game, but the music is nice. So, but hope you guys are doing well. Hope you had a good weekend. We got some cool updates, and I'll probably repeat this again towards the end of the stream as we get more people. But the first and most important one is we are definitely getting a guest star for a few upcoming streams. So July 3rd, we're going to have Jess Myers. She is a environmental consultant and science educator and has done a lot of amazing things with sharks. You'd be blown away by some of her shark experience. So she's going to be coming on the stream in July. We're going to be talking about tiger sharks, which is a species that she's worked with. So I'm really excited. I met with Jess over the weekend just to kind of discuss how like the stream works and everything, and she's super excited as well. So we're aiming for July 3rd and kicking off Shark Week right. So that's a big update for me on that. Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else. I think that's it. Shark Week, I mentioned this a couple streams ago, but Shark Week, we're going to do a huge contest. So I will be announcing that soon. This is going to be a prize winning contest, so an art contest, and with a completely new subject, something we've never done before. So I'm really excited to unveil that. That is coming in the next couple of weeks. Shark Week is right around the corner, so I think it'll be fun to do that. So, but how's it going, Howard? Did you have a good weekend? I think it was I saw somebody else join the stream earlier as well. I actually went snorkeling this weekend, which was I tried to do it a couple weeks ago, and it was quite where I am, kind of near the Chesapeake Bay. The water was warm enough, but it wasn't quite the right time yet as far as our summer species coming into the bay. It was just right before that time. So a couple weeks ago, didn't really see much. This past weekend, I got to see a lot more, so we definitely have things back. Cows raised are back in the Chesapeake Bay, so that was something really exciting to see. I love the rays coming in. Oh, nice. It was great. It was great. Family. Awesome. Did you guys do anything in particular? Kind of more just kind of like staying at home, or you guys do any activities? I saw family. On my end, I saw family 2 weekends ago. Oh shoot, audio is fuzzy. Let me see if I got everything set up. It's probably because I was switching to music. Can you hear me okay now? Sorry about that. I hate it when that happens, but. Trying to think what else I saw this weekend. Got my first blenny this weekend. So blennies are a small little reef fish. that inhabit the oyster reefs of the. I mean, they inhabit reefs like any kind of reef, like oyster reefs or coral reefs, but they are pretty important species for oyster reefs in the Chesapeake Bay. So got to see that, which is pretty fun. And I had my. I don't think I have it out. Oh yeah, I do have it out. Oh, awesome! Thank you, Howard. I just saw your note. Audio is good. Perfect. Thank you. Got to snag a photo. This is my GoPro for just underwater photography. I mean, I guess it counts since it's not a fancy camera, but it's a camera. But got a blending photo, which I'm happy about. So that's really it, I guess, as far as marine life updates on my end. So, but yeah. So Jess will be on the stream July 3rd. So I'm really excited about that. Before we get to Tiger Shark, we're gonna start off with tonight's Goblin Shark. It's been a while since we've done a deep water shark, so I'm really, really excited. And again, I'm loving like the Metroid vibe with this species. So, took my granddaughter down to the lake to hang out with the geese. Awesome, dude. And like the weather. I'm sure the weather is like beautiful up there as well. Because it's just like I love this time of year. Like spring. I don't know what it is. Like people, like people love spring, but I'm not a spring guy. It's my least favorite season. But it's just like summer when everything is like just way everything is like at its peak, and like all especially from like an ocean perspective, like all the subtropical animals kind of coming to this part of the world, like that. Like summer is probably like one of my favorite times of the year. And then like also just like fall and winter with the holidays. So, but yeah, I hope the weather was beautiful. So, awesome, great weather this year, fantastic. So, but let's take a closer look at your art, man. This is really, really fantastic. I love that you captured the protruding jaws of the species really, really well. What's funny is that goblin sharks, I think in their natural state, they have a pretty flat snout, and the jaws, fit very neatly in the snout, like within kind of like that cranial structure. Very much like sand tiger sharks, which is like a cousin of the species, or like most sharks. Most sharks do not swim, with their jaws protruded, but this species, Mitsukurina owstoni, I think more than any other shark has been sort of like known for the protruding jaws, and sometimes inaccurately depicted with the protruding jaws outward, kind of creating this like goblin-like face. And I certainly know when I was a kid, that was something that was like that was an image that always like kind of stuck with me, where it's like the shark. I always had this impression, it wasn't the right impression, that the shark actually would swim through the water with that goblin face, like with the big nose and like the mouth kind of pointing out, like with this weird face. But the reality is like the mouth actually sinks into the cranial structure. So we're going to take a look at some footage to kind of see that more clearly. I think that has been cleared up more recently in the past decade. With there's some really good. There's like I know like Shark Week is kind of mixed as far as the quality goes, but there's been some really good programs like Alien Sharks that have got to really explore that more, and got to kind of showcase that, and sort of genuinely shed light on how the species functions. So, but that was a long-winded way of saying that this goblin sharks are so well known for the protruding jaws. And Howard, I love in your artwork that you capture that look so well, and it's just like you can even kind of feel the texture, like just in terms of like just these little details of like I wonder if I can zoom in. Oh, sorry, that might be making it the resolution lower, but just even the texture, you can feel like how loose that like that upper jaw is within like the cranium. Like you can see like the texture of the lower jaw. Like you could really tell that this species is a bit flabbier. It's a deep water species that is a bit like more flabby. It's not as robust as like some shallow water species, and there's like a lot of like flexibility, and the jaws like really lunge out to grab a prey item. So I think this is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing this, and I love the color scheme too, because it's like it just like the pink, but with like kind of like a dark like a dark shading on it. I think that really is a great hybrid of like. I think goblin sharks are most often attributed as being pale or pink, but I think some of that can be biased by dead specimens. And so I really like how you kind of blended the pinks and like this dark gray. It's just like it's a really cool palette. So this is one of my favorite pieces that you've shared on the stream so far. So thank you so much for sharing it. It is super super cool, and I just love it. So thanks, man. I really really appreciate it. So. Oh, I just saw your comment. So much loose skin. Yeah, yeah. It's a very. I think let's take a look at some footage because it is a very weirdly flexible species, and it's odd. As far as we know, kind of taking a look at sharks of the world, it doesn't really live that far down. I mean, it lives in the twilight zone and the midnight zone, but the depth range is 100 to 1,300 meters. Which, I mean, that is deep, objectively, but it's not really, like, the farthest down you can go. And I believe the furthest I've ever heard of a shark living is, like, 4,000 meters. So it is interesting seeing how kind of, like, flabby this is, or kind of how flexible this is. I mean, it definitely lives in deep water with high pressure, but, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So... And it's amazing that we have like living footage of goblin sharks, because again, like when I was a kid growing up, that was like unheard of. There was only like dead specimens or photos. So this is really odd music, by the way. I think Samus is in a boss battle, but man, look at this. I think it's kind of interesting that the way, not this particular shot, but there was a shot just now where the back looked a little arched and that looked a little unhealthy. So this looks like a completely healthy individual. And we'll definitely rewind it and slow it down so we can take a closer look. But this is actually a really great shot of kind of what I was saying earlier, that like the jaws protrude, and that is like a temporary state, in terms of capturing prey. But like in terms of its normal swimming state, goblin sharks are very flush. Like the jaws are very flush with the rest of the body, which makes perfect sense. But it's just interesting. Like, oh my gosh, look at that! That is a really good shot. It is interesting that sort of like culturally and with our understanding of goblin sharks, they've always been attributed or misattributed with just the mouth all in a constant state of protrusion. So. Alright, so let's definitely like rewatch that. Let's slow it down, because that was actually going a little fast. So let's kind of change the settings, make that a bit slower so we could see some more details. So, so different from the various angles. Yeah, it's just like this is definitely one of the most wild-looking sharks out there, and I love, again, like I said at the top of the stream, but it's truly a unique species. It's truly like this is one of only a handful of sharks that has its own family. Like one species for this family. Basking sharks are similar in that way. Recently, I guess sand tigers have been recently reclassified as having their own family, which kind of blows my mind a little bit, but this is super cool. So this is a lambda-form. This is a weird deep water cousin of sand tigers, white sharks, mako sharks. I mean it's so different that it's probably not really fair to compare them, but it's the same order. Yeah, this was what I was talking about earlier. This shot right here, this individual, I mean, it looks like it's a humped back, and then this individual looks like it's kind of flattened out. One little detail that's really catching my eye. Look at these pufferfish. This is actually really interesting to see. These are all pufferfish, and I'm wondering if this particular shot is in shallow water at night for this particular shot, which could happen. I don't know the details of where the shot came from, but there is such a phenomenon. It's a very common phenomenon. I believe it's called deal migration, where a lot of deep water animals in the ocean, they do migrate up into shallower waters at night. And then when the sun comes out, they go back to the depths. So it's a great nutrient transport. It's a great way for Twilight Zone species to come up to the surface and grab nutrients that are not really normally available in the Twilight Zone, and then they come back down into the deep. So I'm wondering if this is what might be going on in this particular shot, because these puffers, I don't know much about pufferfish as far as their own depth limits, but these are very colorful looking puffers right here, and I would not be surprised if this is a shallow water environment. Plus, now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, is this shot from like a diver, or is this shot from like a sub? And maybe with like kind of the quality of these shots and the angles that they're getting, maybe this is actually a diver in a shallow water environment, and this particular goblin shark is undertaking a deal migration, so moving up at night in the water column to shallower water for hunting. So that could be what's going on. The puffers are suggesting that for me, but if anybody, any future viewers, knows exactly how this footage was obtained, please leave a comment, because that would be actually extremely cool to kind of figure that out. Oh man, this is so cool. The snout is amazing. It's like it is such an extreme, just proportionally, it's so it's so flat and so elongated. You have to wonder what that might serve, like what purpose that kind of snout serve. Oh my gosh, and the jaws are insane. I wonder what kind of fish that is that we just ate. Really cool jaw set, very long, needly teeth. Kind of reminiscent of sand tigers, except much thinner from what I'm seeing. Very, very thin, needly teeth. Quite bristly, and yet I think it's just a single row. Oh man, this is actually an incredible shot. Oh, that is so cool. It's interesting. The nostrils, the positioning of the nostrils are fascinating too. Like right underneath, right in front of the mouth, like right in front of the upper jaw. We're definitely replaying that for a third time, because I'm sorry. It's just this footage is too cool, too cool. Reminds me of the holocephaly. Interesting, like holocephaly. Let me look that up again. I know this is probably gonna crash my bandwidth. Interesting, like chimeras. Do you mean chimeras, or like a different kind of fossil? Let's see. Subclass of cartilaginous fish. Yeah, let's see. Because I'm assuming I'm assuming you're referring to like kind of a more ancient group of sharks. Because I think the term holocephaly sometimes is applied broadly to include the chimeras or refer to the chimeras, but I think it's although I do forget do forget my taxonomy on that. So let me know, like chimeras and similar looking to several fossils. Gotcha. So yeah, I mean it definitely is like just kind of like the way this guy moves, and also just like lamniforms in general. I think lamniforms are more of a, I don't want to say like an ancient body type, but they're definitely an older order compared to other sharks. So, but I could definitely see that. So, it's such a cool species. It's interesting too, like with deep water habitat, how I guess that environment sort of in a weird way like preserves features or kind of like exudes this aura of like ancientness. Because like you think about like frilled sharks or like six gill sharks, they are sometimes like regarded as living fossils, and they live like in a similar niche. So it's pretty interesting to kind of see that. Oh man, these guys are so cool. It's fascinating that this shark has such a long snout, but like the nostrils are like so far back in relation to the rest of the body. So as we take a look at some research tonight, it'll be interesting to kind of like pinpoint like why did this species evolve such an enormous snout? Like why is there a function to it? Does it help with like movement, kind of like hammerheads, but in like a completely different way? Is it sort of like a weird? Is there a weird relationship somehow between like genetically, even though they're completely different groups, is there a strange relation between how this evolved and maybe how like saw shark rostrums evolved? They're completely different orders, but you never know in terms of like if you have a like with closely related species with like similar like with some similar genetic structure, if like maybe somehow in the goblin shark's evolution like those genes that are usually conserved, maybe there's a mutation where something like that was activated. I don't know, I'm kind of like reaching a little bit with that, but it is such an unusual feature, like everything else, like as far as like the body plan and the proportions seem pretty sensible, but that snout is just so strange looking compared to compared to other sharks. So, and again, like I keep saying this, but the position of the nostrils in relation to the snout, the mouth, and the eyes, it is a very strange look. So, but those are some awesome shots of the goblin shark's like just the goblin shark's general appearance, and then also its ability to protrude its jaws. So these, I guess these are the same shots, but in reverse. This is kind of new. Let me check up on some comments really quick. So, deep sea research would be amazing. Oh my gosh, yeah. Like I would freak out. I wonder. Like my dream someday is to somehow. I don't think this is. I don't know if this might be possible someday. Like I would love to do like deep sea dive ecotourism. I don't know if that will be possible one day because it's probably so expensive to like just and like the liability is probably huge in terms of it's probably more so that it's expensive like as far as like trying to transport people down into the deep. That would be an incredible venture like as far as like I don't know like I don't know. Actually, Oh, Phylactus had a horn-like protrusions from its mouth. Ooh, or no, sorry, Falcatus. Let me look up Falcatus. So I was just daydreaming for a second. Falcatus. It's funny, like, selfishly, I would love... Oh, interesting. Interesting. Ancient... I forgot about this group. Extinct genus of Falcatid chondrichthyon, which lived during the Carboniferous sphere. Gotcha. Man, I love ancient sharks. Like, just like, it's such a surprise, like, what they look like. This is interesting that, like, the snout is right before the mouth as well. That is actually kind of fascinating to see. Even though this guy has, like, more of, like, a snub-nose snout, it's, like, it is interesting seeing, like, the nostrils are right before the upper jaw, kind of like the goblin shark. So, it's pretty interesting. So, but... just wrapping up my deep sea thought, part of me is like, it would be so cool if there was like deep sea ecotourism. Part of me may regret that in terms of like, maybe it's better if the deep is left alone. Humans have populated so much of the world already. Maybe we should just leave the deep alone. So, I don't know. Maybe the ideal is maybe I could, one day be invited on a sub somewhere for fun. We'll see. We will see. But I all this to say, I would absolutely love to go down into the deep at some point. So these are interesting shots. Some of them are a mix of the footage we just saw. Some of them are a little bit new. What is actually really interesting that sort of supports kind of my theory that the pufferfish shots were shot in shallow water is this. This shot is definitely in the epipelagic zone. So, the epipelagic zone is defined by sunlight. So this is definitely a shallower water environment with the blue water in terms of where this goblin shark was filmed. Oh, and you know what? Look at that. Sorry. Hold on. I just noticed that. You can even see, like, just, like, the reflections of the sun, like the rays of the sun on the back of this. So, yeah. That's actually really cool to see that this is this individual, which could be the same individual that they filmed at night, migrated to shallower water from the deep as part of its deal migration. So, interesting. So, let's and that's actually looking very, very clear and very shallow, like in that shot right there. So, and it's cool. I mean, like it seems like oh my gosh, and like I just realized this too. Like that should have been a dead giveaway. Sorry, this is really cool footage. But a scuba diver max dive is like what? Oh, actually, I should know this. Maximum safe dive is 30 meters for open water. This is probably more of a trade. Actually, no. I should know this. Wait a minute. Maximum safe dive. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry, I'm a little bit split focus right now. Okay. I want to put a pin into that's incredible footage right there. Let's look this up because I actually really should know this. Because there's different levels for scuba diving as far as open water dive is the basic level, and I think that's 30 meters. But you can go deeper than that. So here we go. So I'm just like really curious. Sorry, thank you for indulging me because I'm very, very curious about this. Maximum depth for scuba diving, although that diver and in terms of operating camera equipment, it's probably not pushing it. All this to say, this is a Goblin Shark that actually went into shallow water, which is kind of cool. There we go. Entry-level divers are expected to limit themselves to about 18 meters, so or to 20 meters. Okay, so I got that a little bit wrong, but 20 meters is entry-level diver. 40 meters is the limit for recreational diving. Maximum depth is 50 meters. Technical diving, or the maximum depth that's considered safe is 120 meters, which is insane to think about. So this shot is probably somewhere between 20 and 50 meters of the Goblin Shark. Sorry, I really wanted to know where this was shot. If you have a shot of a Goblin Shark biting someone's arm and they're filming with camera equipment, yeah, it's shallow water. So sorry about that. I just wanted to kind of like go down that rabbit hole. So you might be able to create, I just saw this comment, you might be able to create a deep sea observatory station. So there's something really cool. I don't know if it's still functioning right now. I hope it is. So I think it's called Sea Lab, and it's in Florida. And it is like it's basically like a space station down in the depth. It's small, but I think it's called Sea Lab. Let me make sure I got this right. Sea Lab, Florida. I don't know if it's functioning now. Aquarius Reef Base? This is it. Right? Okay, this is it. Sorry. Okay. This is it. Okay, Aquarius Reef Base. Kidding. So, alright. Is this still functioning? Established 36 years ago. Let's check this out, actually. Yeah. So sorry, Howard, your comment just reminded me of this. So this is a legitimate thing. So this is basically like a lab where people live and can sleep overnight for marine research. You have to be very careful doing this. I think there's a lot of like steps that you have to take as far as getting down there and then living at that depth, and then also decompressing from that depth. So, but I had some colleagues who did this, and it's basically like an underwater research station, and it's actually really cool to see this. This footage is playing on a loop, but you can see just the biofouling, like how long this has been here and how this has actually created like reef habitat. So this is a really cool thing. Your comment just reminded me of that. There is an underwater lab in Florida. So this is the only one I've ever heard of. I would not be surprised if there are more, but as far as I know, this is the only one that I've ever heard of, which is Aquarius. So, and I guess this is with Florida International University. So for future marine science students, if you ever want to have a shot at living under the water for a while, Florida International University has this Aquarius lab. So, yeah, totally forgot about that. So, all you need is an old oil rig. Oh my god! Yeah. There's a really cool spot off of Virginia called the Chesapeake Dive Tower, or sorry, Chesapeake Light Tower. That I forget what it was. It wasn't an oil rig, I don't think. It was more like what was it? I mean, it is a platform. It's like structured like an oil rig, but it is more kind of like a I think it was like a weird like a communications tower of some sort. So I have to look that up. But actually, I mean that's going to be location number one. If I want to, if I ever have the means to build a sea lab, I might see if I could do that at the Chesapeake Light Tower. So. But anyway, let's get back to this because I totally bypassed the fact that a goblin shark is biting a diver's arm. So. This is really cool. The shark is probably just curious. This isn't like aggressive behavior. This is more like curiosity, I think. In terms of like it just sees this object in the water and it's just kind of figuring out what's going on. So, I've heard just in general that sharks bite things out of curiosity. That's sort of how they navigate the world a little bit. It's one of the many things that they do. One more common thing is bumping things. If sharks kind of see something that's unfamiliar, and I think this applies to sharks in general. For the most part, if they see something unfamiliar, they will do close passes, bumps, or like just bites to kind of feel things out. So that's what I think is going on in this scenario. This is nowhere near like an attack or anything. This is just more like a curiosity bite. I don't even think that the shark might find I'm not even going to say the arm, like just kind of like the rubber edible or anything. I think this is just more like it's kind of curious what's going on. So, but this is an amazing footage to see, and it's amazing to kind of see like just how the jaws protrude, and the eyes. I'm just noticing in this shot as well. The eyes don't move. The eyes, I mean, they're moving forward, but they're not doing a protective movement. White sharks are famous for rolling their eyes back to protect them as they bite. All carchariniform sharks have the nictitating membrane, which protects their eyes as they bite. But it's interesting to see in this goblin shark footage that the eyes aren't really doing anything. I mean, they're kind of launching forward into the socket, but I don't know if that would really be classified as like a protective behavior. So, yeah, pretty interesting shot. So, let's move out of here. I think the last piece of footage, this actually might be the same piece of footage, now I'm seeing this again, that I could find on YouTube, is this dive footage. And it looks like this might be uncut. Oh, that's poor shark. It's interesting to see. Yeah, because like the shark just looks like he just bumped into the arm, and then he launched his jaws, maybe as a weird investigatory thing. Because nothing about this approach looks like an intentional attack to me, or an intentional bite, or an intentional prey capture. I think this is just like a weird interaction where it's just kind of curious. It just bumped into an object it doesn't know. So that's kind of my guess or my read on the situation. But it's actually really cool to see, because you can tell these are all different individuals of goblin sharks, and it's actually really cool to see multiple shots of different individuals in shallower water. It's actually kind of encouraging in a weird way, where it's like it's not impossible to maybe be in the same environment as a goblin shark at some point. So as far as like diving goes, so it's so cool. Just catching up on comments. Wild footage, yeah, for sure. This is like, again, I think it really just kind of sheds light on this species, and I really appreciate how it clears up the misconception in terms of the jaws and how they relate to the mouth. So, let's dive into some research on the goblin shark. And I also thank you, Howard, for sending over a fossil goblin shark. So this is Scapanorhynchus. So we'll take a look at the modern goblin shark and compare it to Scapanorhynchus. But it is actually really interesting to see. Yeah, I believe you made a comment earlier about how it's a pretty conserved form. Like this is a different genus, but this looks so similar to what the modern goblin shark looks like in this fossil. So it's going to be really cool. We'll take a look. I have some Scapanorhynchus tabs open, so we'll take a look at that in a little bit. But first, let's dive into the modern goblin shark. One thing that I was really excited to see that it's a least concerned species. So I feel like with the past couple sharks that we were checking out on streams prior, a lot of them were endangered or critically endangered. It's always refreshing to see a shark that's actually doing okay. And it looks like a goblin shark is one of them, one of the species that is actually doing comparatively okay. So let's just take a quick look at the assessment. We are on the IUCN Red List. I'm going to take a quick drink of water too. So, excuse me, sorry about that. So goblin shark. Goblin shark is a large, deep-water shark with a widespread but patchy global distribution across the Atlantic and Indo-Pacific Oceans. It has been recorded on outer continental shelves, upper slopes, and off seamounts at depths of 0 to 1,300 meters, but mainly at depths between 270 and 690 meters, so mainly a twilight zone shark. It appears to be mesopelagic. Population size and trends for the species are unknown. The goblin shark is rarely caught as incidental bycatch in deepwater benthic gillnet, benthic longline, trawl, and surface driftnet fisheries, with most captures reported from Japan. That's actually interesting because Mitsukurina, I believe this is named after a Japanese researcher. Like this genus, I believe that comes from the a famous Japanese marine scientist. We'll check that later as far as the etymology goes, so we'll check FishBase. But there are no species-specific management actions in place at this time. Although there is a lack of information on its biology and population size and trends, it is possible to infer from the limited fisheries interactions across its range that this species occupies areas outside of those available to fisheries. Awesome. Although it may also be naturally rare. At this time, there's nothing to infer any population decline, and the goblin shark is assessed as least concern. So this is interesting. This is a least concern status, kind of based on we don't really have enough data, but it is really cool to see that from a fisheries perspective, it's not really caught. You know, like I know it says most captures reported from Japan, but in other parts of the world, it's rare incidental bycatch. So even if there's like deeper water fishing operations, it's really cool to see that it's not really captured. This species is living in such an environment and in such a niche that just doesn't really interact with humans, which makes it all the cooler. But I actually, I think that's really awesome. I do trust this assessment where it's like, yeah, I think it makes sense that this is actually probably a shark that is removed from human pressure and is probably doing okay comparatively. So that's actually extremely cool to see. So checking FishBase, let's see. Mitsukurina, belonging to University of Tokyo zoologist Kakichi Mitsukuri. Okay, gotcha. So it is based on Japanese scientist who placed holotype of this very remarkable shark in Jordan's hands, who identified, figured, and described. Owstoni, in honor of Alan Owstoni. Oh, the entire name is based on two scientists. Got you. English businessman, yachtsman, collector of Asian wildlife, and resident of Yokohama, Japan, who secured holotype from a fisherman. That's actually a really unique name. So let me fast forward on the music. I want to get to a calmer spot. There we go. It's a little better. That's actually a really unique name where it's like this is based on a Japanese researcher's name and this is based on an English researcher's name. I know I've mentioned earlier, like on I think on the last stream even, that usually it's not good practice to name any kind of animal after a scientist. You should really be doing names based on a descriptive element of a species. But this shark, I kind of like this whole thing, like names based of two different cultures, two different people coming together in the name of science. I think that's really cool. And plus, I think for this species being as unique as it is, I mean, it's unmistakable. You cannot confuse us with another kind of shark. So I think we can give Mitsukurina owstoni a hall pass. So that's actually really cool. And I didn't know that about the origin. I knew the genus name was Japanese, but I didn't know that the species name was actually based on an English name. So, man. So these photos are actually wild. If this is your only reference, of a goblin shark, I mean, this must be kind of mind-blowing. There's a little bit of damage, a little bit of decay. The stomach looks distended in this individual. The rostrum looks kind of damaged. Overall, looks a bit dehydrated. The tail end looks pretty okay, but like the head looks really, definitely affected by preservation. But yeah, if this is like if you're like a marine scientist back in the day, and this is like the first time you've seen a goblin shark, it must be like absolutely mind blowing. Just wild appearance. So it's actually really cool to see, and you can see it kind of clearly. The jaws are proportionally really huge compared to the body. That's actually kind of fascinating to see. The eyes are moderately sized for a Twilight Zone shark. All the other features seem pretty conserved, but the jaws are rather huge when you kind of, see it in comparison to the rest of the body. Interesting. I used to work in a fisheries lab, and that preservative, that I don't know if that's like formaldehyde. There's a couple of different kinds of mixers you can preserve things in. I don't know if that's formaldehyde or something else, but it is the weirdest smell, and I don't recommend anyone be around that. So, interesting photos of the species. It smells like it's. I don't know why I'm going into this, but like shark preservative stuff, it smells like it has a sweetness to it, which is kind of makes it worse. It's like a sweet, it's like a weird sweet alcoholic kind of smell. Like it has like the same, I don't know how to describe it, but the same like kind of abrasiveness of alcohol, but like also there's this weird sweetness to it. It's very strange. So I don't know how to describe that, but man, you can absolutely see why it's called goblin shark in English. Again, based on preserved specimens with the jaws being protruded. I mean, it's kind of the perfect name for the species. It's one of the few English names for shark species that are kind of just perfect. Like you can't call this anything else than the goblin shark. So they look quite brutal from below. Yeah. It's very nasty and distorts the specimen. Yeah. That's like the biggest thing about kind of like any kind of fisheries preservation. Because like with bony fish, it's a little bit easier since bony fish have more of a, like a bony skeleton. There's more of like a rigid structure to bony fish specimens, and so bony fish tend to. And not every bony fish. There's deep water bony fish that are definitely like quite flabby that do not do well in preservation. But shallow water bony fish do pretty well in preservation. And this is preservation for research purposes. So they tend to do pretty well as far as like holding up their integrity. But sharks, as you can imagine, since sharks are so like cartilaginous and most of the body is like muscle, for the most part they hold up pretty well. But it's very easy for specimens to be damaged or to be permanently flexed in a certain way, like permanently twisted in a certain way that kind of affects just the overall preservation of the specimen. So. So that's a good point. I was just affirming your point. That's a good point. Let's see. Just checking the fish base profile. Pinkish white with bluish fins, becoming brownish gray after death. Jaws are highly specialized for rapid projection from the head to snap up small animals. Feeds on jackopaver. Wait, what is that? Hold on. I have never heard of that. Let's find that out. Jackopaver. I have never ever heard of this. Oh my god. Cape redfish. That's a wild looking fish. Scorpinidae. Gotcha. So it's like a scorpion fish. Interesting. I've never heard of that before. So cool. It's a new fish. Where are we? Pelagic octopus and crab. So, you know what? I wonder if that's the. There's a clip of this. There was a clip in the footage earlier of this guy eating a redfish. I wonder if that was. It would be kind of a long shot, but that actually would be kind of amazing if we're capturing it eating jackopaver in action. I don't know. It is definitely... could be. It could be. It's definitely red. No, well... I don't know. I don't know this group that well, so if that is a jackopaver, if you are a fish biologist and you know that's a jackopaver, please leave a comment affirming that's what that is. So that'll be actually really cool if whoever filmed this actually caught that that predation in action. You know, Goblin Shark's favorite snack on film. So that is actually really, really cool. So, all right, let's see what else we can learn. Ovoviparous embryos feed on yolk sac and other ova produced by the mother. So that is kind of like, again, this landforms do this. It's so interesting. I don't know if that counts as intrauterine cannibalism if other ova means like unfertilized eggs. So I don't know if that actually counts, but it is interesting. This is a cousin of the sand tiger, which is famous for that mode of reproduction. So. Yeah, landforms. Landforms are kind of wild in that. Probably still moving and neutrally buoyant. Let's see. Oviparity. Oh, phagy. Got you. So sand tigers do that. Crocodile sharks do that. Gotcha. Interesting. That was actually a pretty robust fish-based profile. Hey, boy, what's up, man? What's up? We were just diving into goblin sharks, so such a weird yeah. So this is a cousin of the sand tiger, I don't know if it's in the same order. I don't know if it's for the same cousins or say like I might switch other music in a little bit. I don't know if I should say cousins. It's definitely like a relative, but it's actually really sweet, like the protruding jaws and phagy, and know that they're in the same order. So yeah, let's go ahead and zoom forward. I like the peaceful music of Other Round, not the crazy music. So. But I hope you're doing well, Roy. We were just talking about the goblin shark is a least concerned species, and this is, we were talking about Howard's artwork at the top of the stream, so it looks pretty awesome, capturing that protruding mouth extremely well. And again, Howard, this is like one of my favorite pieces you've ever submitted, so this is super, super cool. Thank you again for sending this over. So, I don't know if you missed it, Roy, but we're going to have another guest stream, so that's happening July 3rd. So Jess Myers will be joining us. She's a really cool environmental consultant and science educator. So she's going to be joining us in July, which I'm really excited about. We're going to be talking about tiger sharks and kicking off Shark Week. So, but let's take a look at... Actually, let's take a look at Florida Museum... Actually, this is too cool. We'll take a look at Florida Museum of Natural History in a second, but this is actually amazing. This is the first description of a goblin shark. This is the first one, so 1898. And it's actually remarkably accurate. That looks really, really good. The fins might be a little rounded. That's the only nitpick, but the rest of the body is looking pretty amazing, and like the snout looks pretty amazing. Wow, this is actually a pretty excellent. That's actually really amazing artwork. Look at the teeth in the top left corner, by the way. Just like how long, like that first tooth is pretty wild looking. Like that's compared to any other shark species, that's one of the longest teeth that we've ever seen. So that's actually really, really cool. So, Roy saw that picture in a book. Oh my gosh. So that's actually really cool. This is maybe a more famous illustration. But yeah, this is the first description of goblin sharks. We learned just a few minutes ago that Mitsukurina owstoni, it's named after, Mitsukurina is named after a Japanese scientist. Owstoni is named after an English scientist. And they work together to officially submit the species, submit the type specimen, and describe the species. So that's actually really cool. I don't know if I can get... Oh yeah, there we go. It's kind of interesting. This one's from 1904. Slightly worse-ish, but I think the fins are better in this illustration. The jaw set is amazing. You can see just like that's actually a really beautifully rendered, like beautifully drawn jaw set. The snout is a little wonky looking. This could be specimen damage. The jaws are looking good. The nostrils are looking good. The actual snout looks just a little weird, so that could be specimen damage. But still, that's actually a pretty good illustration overall of this species. So, oh man, oh, this is an interesting live footage from 2007 is when this individual was captured. So, oh, the fins are kind of rounded, aren't they? I that kind of escaped me. I'm gonna take my comments back. They are actually pretty rounded. That's interesting. So, it's such a beautiful tail, by the way, too. It's like a I don't know the right term for this, but it's basically like it's almost like one long caudal fin. There's not really an upper and lower lobe. It's really just like a single lobe, which is really cool to see. It's actually kind of elegant in a strange way. And again, it's awesome to see like an image of a goblin shark where the mouth is flush with the snout. Again, there's that misconception of the goblin shark having its jaws protruded permanently, when in reality, this is the animal's natural state. So, it's pretty cool. Let's see. Based on the prey items often consumed by these sharks, it appears that they may forage off the bottom for food and may in fact occupy more of a midwater habitat than is generally assumed. Interesting. Oh man. Yikes. These are weird pictures. We won't linger on this, but this is definitely one of the creepiest images we've ever seen on sharks. Yeah, well, we won't linger on that. I think it's a freshly caught specimen, so. These teeth are incredible. Like, because like we're all like fossil hunters. Like, can you imagine like pulling like an ancient goblin shark tooth and just like it's such a a graceful shape. Like and it's also such an extreme. Having like such an elongated crown compared to the root. There's not really, I can't think of another shark that's as extreme as this. So, like it looks, it may look simplified at a glance as far as like it's just this one crown. There's no cusplets, there's no serrations, but really this is actually, I feel like this is kind of rare. in the shark world, or rather, this is kind of like the extreme of a sort of like a hook tooth type that's meant for ensnaring fish. And again, it's really cool to see that this shark has like one or two rows of teeth that seem to be functioning. Maybe just one row, because like we were looking at the great hammerhead recently, and the great hammerhead looked like it had like multiple rows of teeth that were functional. I think even the lemon shark, the sicklefin lemon shark, looked like it had multiple rows of teeth that were functional. So it's actually really cool to see something different, you know, where this specimen is like, it's a single row of teeth, and these are like gnarly looking teeth. Oh my gosh, that's a nice detail on these teeth. So, Ooh, it's kind of a sad looking photo of a, let me get out of here, preserved specimen of goblin shark. So, let's go back to, I do want to read the Sharks of the World profile really quick. So we'll pull up, I do want to pull up the footage again as I kind of read this, because I didn't really give the Sharks of the World profile a solid look. So, and I think, Roy, you mentioned you were at work earlier at the top of the stream, so I want to kind of share some of this footage just so you have a chance to see it. And actually, sorry. I did not realize Other M was going to be so jumpy. There we go. I like it when Other M is chill, so I did not realize it was going to be that nuts. Let's see. Deep water, outer continental shelves, upper slopes, very rarely comes to the sea surface. The habitat of these sharks, particularly the rarely reported adults, is very poorly known. It has been speculated that given their soft, flabby body and light pinkish to white color, goblin sharks are more likely to occupy a midwater habitat than to live exclusively on or near the seabed. So that's actually pretty interesting to think about. And actually, I don't know deep water environments in general that well, in terms of like, one of the questions I would have is like prey availability, like in a midwater habitat in like the water, I mean like in the water column, like how often will the shark like run into prey? Like how populated is that area? You know, when you think of like how enormous, you know, that habitat is, because like in the bottom in the seabed, you know, you would imagine it's like, you know, worms or maybe like you know, animals in the ooze or scuttling about the ooze. Like you would think that kind of closer to the seabed where there might be more nutrients, there might be a higher concentration of prey items. So if this shark lives in deep water, in midwater habitat, it'd be interesting to kind of ask, like, you know, how does it affect its ability to hunt? Like, is the midwater habitat kind of like the open ocean, where it's like a marine desert of some sort? So these are interesting questions to consider. Its body form suggests that the goblin shark is a poor swimmer. The sensitive blade-like snout may be used to detect its prey, which can then be snapped up rapidly with the highly specialized jaws shoot forward. The slender front teeth pictured here suggest a diet of small, soft-bodied fishes and squid, but its back teeth are modified to crush food. At least one individual has been captured at less than 50 meters depth over water 2,000 meters deep, which supports the theory that they migrate up into the water column. Awesome. So we were doing some detective work at the beginning where there's a couple shots of this species with pufferfish that you know, suggested it was this was filmed in shallow water habitat. And there's famous footage of a diver being bit by goblin sharks, or a goblin shark. And, you know, if a diver is there, that means this is like shallow water habitat. So, but it's actually really cool to see that Sharks of the World is confirming that they do migrate up in the water column. So, the biology is very poorly known, since adults are rarely seen or retained for detailed examination. The diet of the sharks includes midwater fishes and vertebrates. Let's see. Most goblin sharks captured have been subadults, generally less than 4 meters total length, taken in seasonal bottom set gill nets. The adults, which can measure up to 6.2 meters long. So what is that? Actually, that's kind of huge. Is that? Wait a minute. 6.2 meters. No way. That's like 20 feet. That's not... What? Do I get that right? Hold on. No way it gets that big. Does it really get that big? Hold on. Let's do this. America, we don't have a good system of measurement. Hold on. 6.2 meters. 20 feet. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that's huge. So these sharks actually do get pretty huge. Wow. Wow. I did not realize. So that's 20 feet. So this thing can actually get to be like, tiger shark size. Like, that's crazy. Although tiger sharks, I do think, get bigger than that even. But still, like, oh, can you imagine like a full-grown adult goblin shark? Like that's actually insane to think about. That is insane to think about. Oh, man. Okay, so adults presumably occupy areas or habitats that are not fished. So, guys, for anybody who, like, mistakenly believes that megalodons still exist, forget about that. Focus on adult goblin sharks. Let that be the mystery animal, the cryptozoology that you could dedicate, your research to. Because, like, an enormous adult goblin shark is probably, like, a wonder to behold. That is crazy to think about. Unbelievable. Subadult goblin sharks are relatively common in the Tokyo submarine canyon between 100 and 350 meters deep, where they are caught seasonally in bottom set nets between October and April. Exceptionally between 100 and 300 goblin sharks were caught by Taiwanese fishermen at depths of about 600 meters off the northeast part of the island during a 2-week period in April 2003. The capture of such a large number of the supposedly rare deep-sea shark was unusual. It reportedly followed a strong earthquake. Interesting. The majority of animals were said to have been males, some up to 4 meters long. Jaws take... Oh, I don't want to read that part, but... Okay, interesting. So... That was a lot of information. Sometimes Sharks in the World doesn't really give a full profile, but that was actually really, really good information right there. So, but let's see. Just catching up on the comments really quick. So, they don't have to be the best muscular structure. So when they lay these sharks flat out on the docks, become flattened out and distorted, which gotcha. No, that's a good comment, Howard. Sorry, let me read that again. Actually, let me start that. So Howard's talking about how goblin sharks in artwork and like preserved specimens. Where was that? This was a really good. Actually, well that was a really good shot. But let's look at the artwork really quick. Sorry. Hold on. Okay, they don't have to be. They don't have the best muscular structure. So when they lay goblin sharks flat out on the docks, they become flattened out and distorted, which has influenced a lot of the existing artwork. So that's a really good point. That a lot of this work has been biased by how the specimen, is taken out of its marine environment and compresses with it doesn't have that support from the ocean. So that's a really good point, Howard. And this is a really these photos, as kind of gross as they look, it's a really good example of how that affects what this creature looks like, and how it affected our understanding for a while. That we thought this was, or maybe not. I don't think scientists thought this was its natural state, but I think the public for a while kind of thought this is what it naturally looked like, when in reality it's more streamlined in that way. So that's a really good point. Scary to run across. Yeah, a full adult sized goblin shark would be amazing and terrifying to see. So let's check out Florida Museum of Natural History, because sometimes it's got some cool stuff like this. The elfin shark. That is an odd English name for this. The elfin shark. I wonder what that refers to. I kind of am curious, is elfin something that is like a mythology thing? Elf? I don't know if it actually means elf or something else. So, okay, we'll go back. I was just a little curious about that. So, Goblin Shark and Elfin Shark. Interesting. Some cool different names. I do want to read the Japanese names because I think it's really cool. We got the Mitsukurina, the Teguzame, and Zuzame. So very, very cool. I do like the Italian name Squalo Goblin. I like that name actually. It's really cool. Let's see. We probably, as far as like sort of like the broad view of the Goblin Shark, I think we've probably seen most of the notes on that. So let's see. Calm down, Samus. Okay. Deepest recorded individual was from 1,300 meters. The mouth is large and parabolic in shape. I like that descriptor. The young are a ghostly white, with the pink color intensifying with age. Interesting. So that's actually a new fact. Specimens fade and brown. Well, yeah, that doesn't matter because this is talking about preservation. But the young are a ghostly white and the pink color intensifying in age. That's actually really cool. I was talking with a friend this weekend about how for a lot of fish in general, and this includes just like bony fish, they change color sometimes to a maddening degree as they grow up. It is actually sharks less so. Like sharks tend to be more conservative in their color changes. There are some dramatic examples like nurse sharks or zebra sharks, but for the most part, sharks are pretty conservative as far as color changes go. But it is actually really cool to see that goblin shark juveniles are ghostly white, and then that they get pinker as they grow up. So this would be so frightening to see in like an adult version of this, like, you know, in the deep dark depths. Like, so cool. Okay. The true maximum size of the species is still unknown. You know what we should do? We should really honestly convert. We should convert the Megalodon people to adult Goblin Shark people. I think this is a good crusade. You know, in terms of like, hey, focus on this because this is actually a real possibility. Look for the adult Goblin Shark. Find that because like that is an actual possibility, and that's actually really terrifying to think about. So. Let's see. Smallest specimen ever collected was about 3.15 feet, or about 1 meter. So, ooh, this is actually really cool. Jaws are highly modified, allowing for rapid projection, being thrust forward by a double set of ligaments at the mandibular joints. When the jaws are retracted, the ligaments are stretched and become relaxed while projected forward. The jaws are usually held tightly while swimming. So it's kind of like a weird, if I'm reading this correctly, this is kind of like a weird, it's almost like a snare, or it's like the natural relaxed state is actually the shark projecting forward, which is kind of interesting to think about because when you look at preserved specimens, you know, the jaws are projecting forward because, or deceased specimens, the jaws are projecting forward because that is like the relaxed muscular state. But in living specimens, there's effort to keep the jaws in and to retract them. That's actually really interesting. I never thought about that. So, because like I thought it made sense that the shark's relaxed state was like swimming, you know, with the jaws flush, and then it just launches them out. But that's actually really interesting. It sounds like, as far as the musculature goes, the relaxed state is actually having the jaws out, but the focused state is holding the jaws back. That's actually extremely... This shark is awesome. That is extremely cool. So, Elfin Shark on the shelf. I just saw that. Oh my gosh. Thanks, Roy. I'm gonna... That's awesome. So, Elfin shark on the shelf. That actually, you know what? If I don't think I sincerely will probably never. I don't think I see myself ever making a product. I don't think there's a way I could probably do that. Aside from writing, like I write books and stuff, but like I don't think I could make a product. But if I ever did make some kind of product someday, elfin shark on the shelf, maybe one of those things. I highly doubt it. It sounds like a nightmare, actually. But I appreciate. It's a good concept. So, let's see. Oh, hey, Howard, this is awesome. They're talking about Scapanorhynchus, the fossil shark. So let's read this out loud, actually. The goblin shark was first described in 1898 as Mitsukurina. This genus has been synonymized with the fossil Scapanorhynchus, described by Woodward in 1889. The relationship between the two genus has been debated. Currently, the Mitsukurina family includes Mitsukurina owstoni and the fossil species of Scapanorhynchus and Anomotodon. Other synonym names include Odontaspis natus, that's a bizarre name because that's a sand tiger, Scapanorhynchus jordani, and Scapanorhynchus doflani. Interesting. Amnotodon sounds really cool. I don't know what that is. Oh, sorry. Interesting. No results for Amnotodon. Okay. While we talk about Scapanorhynchus, let's take a look at Scapanorhynchus. And again, thank you, Howard, for sending the fossil specimen. This is actually extremely cool to see. And again, how conserved this is. You know what I'm noticing just now, though, too? And this could be preservation, but I kind of feel like the Scapanorhynchus's caudal fin is a bit sharper looking. It kind of has more distinct features, whereas Mitsukurina, it is more like a single fin, like a single billowing, smooth shape. It's not as distinct as Scapanorhynchus, so it's actually really cool to see. Let's kind of scan through this. The upper estimate of Scapanorhynchus is about 3 meters, so that's about half the size of what we think Mitsukurina can grow into, which is really interesting. Okay. And this website, this is prehistoricwildlife.com. So we've never seen this before, but this actually looks like a really cool site. Alright. Okay, Scapanorhynchus appears to have been so much like the living goblin shark, Mitsukurina owstoni, that the two were considered by some to be the same genus. However, a study of the teeth has brought the conclusion that while very similar, they are different enough to keep the two separated. Oh, interesting. The most striking feature of Scapanorhynchus is the extended snout that projects forward well ahead of the jaws. This snout was probably filled with electroreceptive ampullae that sense the movements of nearby fish. Interesting. This indicates that, like the goblin shark, Scapanorhynchus was a deepwater species that hunted in the darkness where sunlight could not penetrate. Here, vision would be useless, but the electric sensors of the snout would easily find prey as it swam about, possibly unaware of the presence of Scapanorhynchus. Now, this is really cool, and this would be a really excellent explanation in terms of like why goblin shark snouts are so huge. Because in a weird way, maybe this is kind of like hammerhead sharks, where hammerhead sharks with the enormous cephalofoil, it does help them with lift, but it also helps them amplify their electromagnetic sense. Hammerhead sharks have been described to have more electromagnetic sensors than other shark species, so they have more of a heightened sense of the ampullae of Lorenzini, or like a higher count of ampullae of Lorenzini and a more heightened sense of the electromagnetic field. So that'd actually be really cool if that's what's going on with the goblin shark, in terms of like why this has such an enormous snout, where maybe this has a higher concentration of the electroreceptors, which makes sense with its deep water environment. So especially if it lives in the middle of the water column where food is hard to find, like maybe this helps it probe about in the dark, where it sort of has like, it's kind of like an amplified larger like like this is a bad analogy, but metal detector. Like maybe like the reason the sound is larger is because it heightens its electromagnetic sense as it navigates the darkness. If that's the case, that is extremely cool, and that's an amazing adaptation. So, let's see. More than hammerheads? I don't know. Like I don't know. That'd actually be a really cool study if somebody was to compare, like the electromagnetic sense of goblin sharks versus hammerheads. Like if anybody wants to do a shark research project, that would be a really cool one. Like comparing the physiology of the ampullae lorenzini or the electromagnetic sense, and seeing like, hey, do goblin sharks and hammerheads, like, how do they compare? Is one kind of more sensitive than the other? We'll study. Howard, I have a few Scipinorhynchus teeth from Belgium and Texas. Interesting. That is actually really cool. Because it's like, do you know what the time range or like the like what the like where they're dated from those two fossil sites? Because that's extremely cool. Going back to the website really quick. Aside from generally being considered to be smaller than the goblin shark, Scipinorhynchus has quite different fins. The main difference here is a proportionally larger tail fin, the superior upper lobe of which is huge. Oh, sorry, I think I gotta notice that. I apologize if my audio is a little weird. I think my audio might be a little weird. But anyway, the main difference here is a proportionally larger tail fin of the superior upper lobe of which was huge in comparison to the bottom lobe. Not only does this indicate that Scipinorhynchus was not a strong open water swimmer, it also suggests that it probably just lurked in the darkness waiting for prey, perhaps near the bottom. Oh, this is cool. Howard, the teeth of Scipinorhynchus texanus. So this is suggesting that this is probably a specimen from Texas. Interesting. This is super cool. But yeah, that's actually really cool to see that line up because I was just talking about how the caudal fin did look really different between Scipinorhynchus and then the modern goblin shark. So that's actually really cool. The website said that as well. So, oh shoot, did I lose anybody? I hope I didn't. I think I might have cut out. Sorry if I did. But let's see. I'm on, this is another new website. This is elasmo.com, which I've never seen before, but it looks like it has some pretty cool information. Oh, shoot, experiencing tech difficulties. Yeah, but it's all good now. Okay, thanks, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not really sure. We do have a thunderstorm in the area, so I don't think it's right over me, but it's like, it is in the area, so sorry about that. I don't know if that's how much that's really affecting things. So, but anyway, I don't know about you guys, but I actually really love, like, I mean, I think it depends on the day, but for the most part, I really love like thunderstorms because it's kind of like, especially in the summer, you know, just like they make for good movie days or craft days or like, you know, writing days. So, but. This is a new website, elasmo.com, and this is talking about Scipinorhynchus, and I think comparing it to our modern goblin shark. Let's see. This is actually really cool. I'm going to try to make this bigger so you can see it. This is the modern goblin shark tooth set. I think it was Florida Museum of Natural History, which was talking about how the forward-facing teeth are extremely elongate, but as you go backwards, it gets more like crushing teeth. You can kind of see it, I guess. These are compacted like molars, and again, sand tigers actually do have a pretty similar jaw set. At least this back section looks pretty similar to sand tiger sharks, actually. The front section is a little... Actually, yeah, the front section too, except it's just a bit more extreme looking for goblin sharks, so it's actually pretty cool. Let's see... This is actually pretty in-depth on the fossil species, so I'm just going to probably glance at this. It's also, this website is kind of like angled in a weird way. I'm just noticing that it's probably not framed really well. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think this is a lot more... oh, this is cool. Articulated teeth from Scapenorhynchus lewisi. It's kind of a grainy photograph, but that's actually really amazing to see if this is like the actual ancient shark's jaws. And those teeth are beautiful. Like the coloration on these teeth are actually really, really gorgeous. They preserve very nicely. Oh, interesting. So this does have... So for the fossil goblin shark, it does have little cusplets. Very, very tiny, but it's actually really interesting to see. Because I think the modern goblin shark does not have that. These are actually kind of broad-looking teeth from this fossil species, so... Let's see. Just catching up on comments. Cretaceous. That is super cool, Howard. So your fossil teeth of Scapenorhynchus are from the Cretaceous period. That is extremely cool. Same period, of course, as some of the most famous of dinosaurs, like the T-Rex, Triceratops. It's really funny. Jurassic Park actually has a lot of Cretaceous dinosaurs. There's not really a lot of Jurassic dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, but Velociraptors are Cretaceous too. So, but that's extremely cool. Let's see. Those teeth look very close to sand tigers. Yeah, isn't it awesome? Like, I love seeing like it's in the same order, and you can kind of tell, Okay, yeah, these are just references. So let's go back to our modern goblin shark because I'm just kind of curious if we can get some cool research on it. So here we go. Let's check out some science. Okay. Using pictographs to trace to explore. Sounds interesting. I'm just scanning this really quick just to see if this will be kind of a cool study. Using pictographs as traits to explore morphological diversity in sharks. It sounds kind of cool. I just want to see what this is. And it's actually kind of cool listening to, I think if anybody's familiar with Metroid, this is like the Ridley theme. So it's kind of fun reading this to Ridley theme, although I'll shut it off if it keeps going for too long. Major part of this study. This seems really cool. I just... Oh, no, there he is. Okay, I'm kind of curious what this is. So, let's see what this is really quick. So just dive into some real science. This is kind of, it looks kind of complicated, but let's take a look. I'm kind of curious. So using pictographs as traits to explore morphological diversity in sharks by it's a fellow Zachary A. Siders, Fabio P. Cautabellota, Catherine B. Loser, Lauren B. Trotta, Benjamin Bazer. This is published in Ecology and Evolution, which is actually a pretty important journal. So yeah, let's take a look. So body shape is a foundational trait on the differences between species. However, morphological measurements can be simplifying, and for many taxa... Let's actually calm that down really quick. Sorry about that. Calm down. I want to read. Sorry about that. Okay. And for many taxa can be distorted upon preservation or are difficult to collect due to a species' habit or size. Scientific illustrations or pictographs provide information on a species' morphology, but are rarely used as traits. Here we demonstrate the use of pictographs using two shark clades, lambdiforms, which is our goblin shark, and Carcharinidae plus Sphenidae. So that's kind of interesting. So it's not all of Carchariniforms, it's just these two families. Okay. Here. I'm sorry. We're gonna just go to relaxing music. Sorry about that. Sorry, Samus. We're gonna go to relaxing music because it's actually gonna distract. It's gonna distract from reading and learning. So we'll just do relaxing music. Let's see. Oh, using global shape measurements, we evaluated whether substantial variability in body shape was introduced by habitat association, endemism, or illustrator. We found that the species habitat preference strongly influenced the discovery rate of pictographs and within species similarity. While illustrations varied within a species, only a limited set of illustrators exhibited significant systematic variability. For ancestral trait reconstruction, we developed a simple extension to estimate body shapes from principal components, and in doing so, observed that the lamnid body plan, so this is like great whites and mako sharks, diverged from the rest of lambdiforms around 100 million years ago. Okay, so this is really cool. Okay, it's kind of complicated, but I think what I think what's going on here is that they're putting a lot of like different so like images of sharks into some kind of analysis to compare body plans, to identify traits that are more ancient, and to kind of isolate like what is influencing the shark's body plan, and also like can we make inferences in terms of like how sharks evolved. And it's actually really cool to see that they're saying that lamnids, so white sharks and mako sharks, diverged from the rest of the lambdiforms 100 million years ago. So that would be, checking our timeline, Cretaceous period. So I was just catching up on the comments. The Belgian teeth are quite broad. Yeah, that's actually so that's actually really cool, Howard. I was noticing that too. Like I would not have thought goblin shark when we saw those teeth. Like they seemed like so like. I don't think I would even have called it like a sand tiger or like maybe even a mako. Like they seem so different. So it's actually really cool kind of seeing like how I don't know what would influence like why the Belgian teeth are like broader, but it's actually really cool seeing that this is a goblin shark, but it's not like what it evolved into with the narrow teeth. So and Roy, just saw your comment. Samus is going berserk on those Metroids. Yes, she is. I've never played Other M, but I've seen like I watched like the cutscenes, like because YouTube has like cutscenes that could be strung together as movies, and like it kind of looks terrible. I'm not gonna lie. So I've never played it. I've heard a lot of people don't like that game that much, but I'm a big Prime fan. So, but anyway, so 100 million years ago is Cretaceous period. So it's actually really cool to see that. Okay, lamnids, like white sharks and mako sharks, diverged from the rest of their order in the Cretaceous period. So, let's see. Higher endemism across Crocodile Spiridae taxa correlates with body shapes that have caudal fins with small heterocercal angles and more pronounced second dorsal anal fins. Interesting. Okay, so we're just going to kind of breeze through this. I'm kind of curious just how it relates to Goblin Shark specifically. Mitsukurina is here. No, Mitsukurina. Oh, yeah, that's okay. Like, I get the gist of it. I'm not 100% sure, like, what I'm seeing, but this is actually... It's a pretty cool study, because I think we'll cheat in a little bit and just look up Mitsukurina in terms of, like, what are we learning about this genus. Continuous mapping of the same line of forms phylogeny scores. So... It's a very colorful study. I'm almost there. I'm just figuring this out. Okay, let's cheat and go control find on Mitsukurina. There we go. Okay. Shoot. So this is, I don't know if I'm, yeah, shoot. Okay. Let's just check the discussion. This seems like a really, genuinely really cool study. It also seems really complicated and more so about just kind of like the, I don't know if we'll be able to break it down in the time for like during the stream, but I'm just kind of curious. Let's see. Species habitat preference as measured by habitat association and endemism minimally impacted the global shape measurement variability. Has strong effects on the number of pictographs and the variability of okay. Yeah, because like this is oh, hold on. Yeah, shoot. This might be a little bit too much. I was really curious about this. I'm sorry if this is kind of not gonna go anywhere. Because this seems like an extremely cool study. I just don't know if I can actually summarize it or break it down or understand it kind of during the stream. Because it's kind of referring to an analysis that I don't really know the ins and outs of, so I don't know if I can pull anything meaningful from it. Okay, sorry about that. This seems like a really cool study, but I'm not really. It seems also kind of like maybe more than what we can do right now. So we're gonna move on. See if we can find something that's more Goblin Shark focused. So sorry about that. Sorry about that detour. It just seemed kind of enticing. So let's see. Record of Goblin Shark in Mediterranean Sea. Mediterranean Sea. Just checking this body form on lambda-form sharks. Oh, hey, sorry, Aurora. I just saw your comment. Have a great night too, man. I think you might have left, but hope you have a great night, and thank you so much for joining. Let's see. How are the variation shark dentition is amazing to me. Yes, same here. Like, I just think it's kind of, oh shoot, this is like a paid thing. Let's get out of here. Especially like I love seeing like the evolution and just sort of like I think like it would be kind of like a masterclass to have the jaw sets of different species and like to make like a study observing how those those teeth like changed over time, like what subtle changes happened, and like creating like an ultimate evolutionary phylogeny, of how fossil shark species have become our modern shark species, and seeing the subtle differences in the tube types. It'll be so cool if there was like some kind of like major study or like major like tree like that. Kind of rambling, but I agree with you. Just awesome, like beautiful, like the variation dentition is for shark teeth. So let's see. This one might be kind of cool. Combining morphological and molecular information to infer phylogenetic relationships of lambda-form sharks. This one might be really cool. Okay. Oh, this might be really, really cool. Okay, sharks of the order Lambda-forms are restricted to 15 extant species grouped into 10 genera and 8 families. These species are characterized by 2 spineless dorsal fins and a ring-shaped intestinal valve. Their phylogenetic relationships are not congruent among different methods and approaches, such as the use of morphological or molecular data. The present study evaluates the phylogenetic relationships of species of the order Lambda-forms by means of phylogenetic reconstruction through Bayesian inference based on morphological and molecular data using both datasets combined. The consensus tree of the morphological Bayesian reconstruction shows that Lambdae and Elopidae are monophyletic. Okay, that's extremely cool. So that means that white sharks, mako sharks, porbeagles, salmon sharks, and the thresher sharks are actually one, are more closely related to each other than they are to the rest of the lambda-forms, like sand tigers, basket sharks. It's like, and it kind of makes sense. Like, thresher sharks look, as far as the rest of the families go, they probably do look the most similar to like mako sharks and white sharks. When you really, like, even though they have the elongated tail, the rest of the body kind of like matches. Really, they actually do look really similar to like porbeagles in a weird way, like as far as like the kind of more of the snub-nosed snout, and that's actually really cool. So this actually might be a perfect study to kind of take a look at right now. And then another comment. Well, Odontaspididae is polyphyletic. That's really cool. So Odontaspididae is the sand tiger sharks. And it's actually really cool to see that. If I'm reading that correctly, it's saying that that family is more distinct than we realize. And recently, Carcharis taurus, the famous sand tiger, was reclassified into its own family. So that's actually extremely cool. And this study might have contributed to that. Oh shoot! 8 synapomorphies are detected in Elopidae, 6 in Lambdae, and 1 for Odontaspididae. Synapomorphy, that is an undergraduate biology term. I forget specifically what that means, so I want to look that up. I think I spelled that wrong. synapomorphy. So sorry about that. Oh, come on. Am I signing that? There we go. We're getting there. There we go. Okay. There we go. Sorry. I know this seems like I'm going down a rabbit hole, but this is going to be really important. Synapomorphy is an apomorphy shared by two or more taxa and therefore hypothesized to have evolved in their most recent common ancestor. So in phylogenetics, an apomorphy or derived trait is a novel character or character state that has evolved from the ancestral form, or plesiomorphy. This stuff is extremely cool. Synapomorphy is an apomorphy shared by two or more taxa. So, for example, if I'm using this correctly, a synapomorphy between humans and chimpanzees is grasping hands. Do I have that right? No. Shoot. I'm sorry. This is really taking me back to school. What's the synapomorphy between chips and humans? I don't know. Like basically a unique trait that unites the two groups as one. So, sorry, it's an extremely cool term. It's an extremely cool concept. This actually is a nice little visual guide. So, synapomorphy is a trait that two different kinds of species have, and it's derived from the same ancestor, which is why they have them. I'm trying to think of something for chimps. I really should be better at this, but like humans and chimps. Because there's a lot of different kinds of animals that have grasping hands. Shoot. I don't know. Forward-looking eyes. This looks so stupid. Forward-looking eyes. I don't know. Synapomorphy between humans and chimps. Let's that's actually, you can see how this gets hard, because it has to be a trait that's unique unique between two different species, because we have the same common ancestor, and raccoons have grasping hands. I don't know. Sorry, I did not explain that well, but basically the point is, this is a really cool way to kind of see the relationships between, as far as sharks go, what is a synapomorphy between two different kinds of sharks that make them more closely related to each other than to other species. So I really appreciate this study is going to go into that. So they're saying there are 8 synapomorphies in Elopidae, the thresher sharks, 6 in Lamnidae, the white sharks, and 1 for Ondatispididae. Cool. In the Bayesian molecular reconstruction team, Lamnidae and Odontospididae are monophyletic, and Elopidae is polyphyletic. Okay, so that's kind of conflicting with what the other part of the study was. In a consensus tree, Lamnidae, Elopidae, and Ontadspididae are monophyletic. The results obtained suggest that posterior probabilities increase when you compare characters in Bayesian phylogenetic analysis, which is greatly advantageous to systematics and order of laniforms. Oh, interesting. Okay. Sorry, I know this is this sounds really convoluted, but this is going to be an extremely cool study, and I'm excited to kind of zoom down to see guides, or sorry, visual models, because it's going to be talking about the relationships between sharks like the Goblin Shark and White Shark to the rest of the order. So, due to the presence of non-monophyletic groups, monotypic families, and the strong support for the division of laniforms into 2 clades, a crucial review for the classification of species is needed. So this is going to be really cool. Let's zoom down to... Okay, these are different proposals for how these sharks relate to each other. So, okay. And you can see the years on these. This is actually really cool. So 1985. So these are all different kinds of proposed family relation or species relationships or genus relationships. 1985, 2009, 1996, 1996, 2005, 2005, 2019. So here we go. Mitsukurina, so the Goblin Shark, it's thought to be a complete outlier to everything else. So it's basically the most unique lambda form, according to this. Same thing for this one. They're saying Mitsukurina is completely unique. Same thing here. Actually, are these all in agreement? I think these are all in agreement. Yes, okay. This is really cool. So, it's not on this 1985 one. So one thing that we can already tell that's actually extremely cool is that this is saying that goblin sharks are the weirdest, most unique lambda form. Like, goblin sharks are the most distantly related from any other kind of lambda form. Like, great whites and basking sharks are more closely related to each other. Thresher sharks and sand tigers are more closely related to each other. They're all part of like a kind of more of like a unique grouping. It's like you have goblin shark in Camp A, and then the rest of the lambda forms in Camp B. So it's actually really cool to see how distant those like the relationship is. So I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense the way I'm describing it? Because it's extremely cool. But let me know if that's like a little bit confusing. But basically, it's like saying that goblin shark is so unique and so different from the rest of the lambda forms that it's kind of like its own offshoot. You can even see that in the tree right here. So it's like, I like. I mean, all of these are great, but if you look at the tree D, right? You've got this. Let me zoom in on this actually to make it clearer. Oh shoot. Okay, there we go. You've got right here a unique common ancestor. And it's split off into Mitsukurina, which is the goblin shark, and then everything else that includes the white shark, sand tigers, crocodile shark, megamouth. It's basically like they all had the same common ancestor, but goblin sharks went off in their own direction, and then the rest of the lambda forms went off in their own direction. So this is extremely cool. I love studies like this. Who wrote this? Let me go back up to... so Sebastian Kona, Claudio Corneo, Sebastian Hernandez, and Christian Ibanez. I think I recognize Ibanez, actually. But this is an extremely cool study. It's from Revisita de Biologia Marina y Oceanografía. So, very cool. But let's take a look at how the rest of the lambda forms kind of compare. See if there's anything that's kind of coming out in common. And these actually really don't line up. There is something that's kind of happening in common, like Carcharodon, which is the great white, is being grouped with Lamna, which is like the porbeagle and salmon shark. That kind of makes sense. That seems to be happening. Isurus, which is a mako shark, is also kind of grouped very closely, but the relationships are proposed to be kind of different. Alopius is pretty close, but then there are some scientists who are saying like, hey, basking sharks might be more closely related. So there's a lot of disagreement. This is actually a really cool snapshot of like how much scientists are disagreeing how lambda forms are classified. So awesome. Yeah, it is confusing, but I follow the logic, and I'm aware that the nomenclature is ever changing. Yes, so it's kind of amazing to see. Like this is one of the reason. This is basically a live snapshot of why scientists can't agree on how to classify things. Because like new research on like either like genetics, like how the genetic structure relates between species, or just I think to say it in kind of like the dumbest way possible, bats have wings, birds have wings. Maybe many years ago people thought like, hey, bats and birds came from the same common ancestor, right? And then as time went on, people were like, no, bats and birds are very, very different. Birds got their wings in a very unique way. bats got their wings in a completely separate but also unique way. So they look kind of similar as far as like what their niche is, but they actually derive those traits in very different ways. So on a much more specific scale and a finer scale, that's kind of what's happening with these sharks, where it's like there's a lot of confusion with like, hey, what are great whites more closely related to? Are they closely related to mako sharks, or are they closely related to like porbeagles or salmon sharks? They look similar. They all look similar, but why do they look similar? Like, what's their fossil record? Like, do they, do they all have like the same common ancestor, or was there like an offshoot that's a little different, and that's why like great whites got to be bigger, mako sharks got to be more streamlined. So it is extremely confusing, but studies like this are extremely cool because they're trying to iron out those relationships in terms of like who is more closely related to who. I think the biggest point and the biggest thing that is the most valuable for tonight is that goblin sharks are just unique. They're their own thing. Like they're very like they're part of lamniforms, but they're the weird offshoot within that order, and everything else like basket sharks and white sharks, they're much more closely related to each other than they are to a goblin shark. So it just makes a goblin shark that much more unique, which is extremely cool. And like I love studies like this. So let's keep looking because they probably, I think what they're doing is like they're saying, hey, here's how it's been classified in the past, and none of these really agree with each other, so we're going to try to smush it all together and see if we can make our best guess as far as what an agreement is. So, let's see. Oh my gosh, there's so many of these, actually. But it's really cool to see Mitsukurina, the goblin shark, is still... You can see that it's on the outer edge of these groups. Like, this is basically saying that, like, yeah, Mitsukurina is just so different. It's so different from everything else. Like, it's basically its own thing. In all of these charts, it's really being treated like, yeah, that goblin sharks are not closely related to anything else in here. Like, they're their own thing, which is really, really cool. Alright. So... Okay. So this... Oh, this is weird. Hold on. Mirrored reconstruction Bayesian trees of A, morphological data, and B, molecular data. Morphological data is on the left, molecular data on the right. Numbers and nodes are the estimated posterior probabilities. Probabilities greater than 7 are shown. 0.7. Colors of the tree indicate the family of each species. Okay. This is weird. This is really weird. Okay. Oh, this is weird. Oh, this is so weird. Okay. Okay, so what this is kind of... Whoops, sorry. Didn't mean to do that. Hold on. I did not mean to zoom out that much. We're going to kind of solve this puzzle, then we'll wrap it up for tonight. But in the meantime, Howard, if you have... I think there's somebody else on here as well. If anyone has a suggestion for next week's shark... we're going to do the tiger shark on July 3rd, but for next week, if you have a suggestion, please leave a comment in the chat. But, oops, I didn't mean to open that. Sorry, let's get out of paintbrush. I didn't mean to open that at all. Let's figure this out. So what this is saying, so this is comparing two different methods, molecular data and then morphological data. So like what this, like the physical features of the animal and then like the genetics of the animal. So this is still saying that, okay, we know that Lamnidae, like the mackerel sharks, they're all the same. Like they're all definitely very much correct, closely related to each other. We are in agreement that they're all rightfully in the same family and rightfully pretty closely related to each other. What's weird is that here's our goblin shark right here, and the morphological data is saying that, hey, a goblin shark might actually share a common ancestor with a sand tiger shark, and they might be more closely related to each other than the deep water sand tiger sharks of Odontaspis. Oops, sorry. Odontaspis ferox, I think that's the small tooth sand tiger. Odontaspis neuronhi is the big eye sand tiger. This is a terrifying shark, by the way. This is one of the wildest looking sharks out there. So, it's an amazing looking animal, and it's like if you're ever scared of deep water things, if you have thalassophobia, this is maybe the face of thalassophobia. It is a terrifying animal. But anyway. But what's amazing is that this tree is saying that goblin sharks might have evolved within the sand tiger complex, and they might have evolved into this unique, weird animal within a shared common ancestor of sand tigers, which is wild. But what's kind of funny is that you, me, and Roy at the beginning of the stream, we were all kind of talking about like, yeah, the teeth look really similar to sand tiger jaws, you know. That would be amazing if this is true. This is not necessarily saying this is true, but that would be actually really amazing if this is true, that the goblin shark is a highly specialized, weird, derived sand tiger thing, you know? That would be extremely cool. I don't know. It's just so different that I don't know how much I line up with that. And this is wacky because this is like saying like thresher sharks are, you know, sort of nested, and I don't know. This is kind of a wacky looking tree, actually. So, the lack of DNA in the fossil record is confounding. Yes, good point, Howard. Yeah, it's it's weird. I've seen like studies where DNA is involved. It kind of sometimes makes things more confusing in a weird way. So let's check it out. On the right side, this is like the DNA side. This is weird. This is saying that basking sharks, Ceramrandus maximus, share the same common ancestor with the rest of the mackerel sharks. That kind of makes sense to me. I can buy that, you know, as an outgroup. And sand tigers are an outgroup of that. But this is so weird. This is so weird. This is saying that goblin sharks are kind of their own thing. I don't know. It's saying that goblin sharks are kind of their own thing, and they have the same common ancestor with basket sharks, mackerel sharks, and sand tiger sharks. And then way over here on this entirely different side of the tree are thresher sharks, megamouths, crocodile sharks, and the deep water sand tiger sharks. So I agree with the study on the point that this is confused. Like, the researchers were saying that lamniforms are a very confusing group, and we really don't know the relationships of the different families to each other. So it's actually extremely interesting to see. On the tree on the left, it's saying white sharks are most closely related to mako sharks, which makes sense. And then on the tree on the right, it's saying white sharks are kind of their own thing, and mako sharks and salmon sharks are more closely related to each other than they are to white sharks. So it's just like, there's a lot of confusion. So I really appreciate that no matter what, the goblin shark is going to be it's either a highly derived form of something, or it's just this complete offshoot and this completely unique group that is its own thing and not as closely related to the rest of the lamniforms. This is a really cool study. I know it's like maddening. Oh my gosh, it's going to get worse. Look at this. I know it's like maddening. Okay, combined data Bayesian phylogenetic consensus tree of extant lamniforms based on morphological molecular data. So this is like their best guess. This is craziness. So, okay. So the best guess according to the study is that there are two major clades of lamniforms. The first one has the thresher sharks, the megamouth, the crocodile shark, and the deep water sand tigers. The second clade has mackerel sharks, the basking shark, the sand tiger shark, Carcharis taurus, so that's Carcharidae, and then the goblin shark. This looks really wonky to me, but oh hey Sarah, what's up? Welcome to the stream. This is Sarah Bartholet. So welcome. Feel free to ask any questions. We're going to be wrapping up in a couple minutes, but this is a stream on goblin sharks. This is actually stream number 30, so we've been doing this for a while, but we were just diving into how lamniforms, so the same order as like great whites, mako sharks, goblin sharks, megamouths. We were just diving into how these are related and how confusing the taxonomy is, and this is a very chaotic looking study. But yeah. But are you a marine biologist person, Sarah? And like, are you and just like generally like welcome to the stream, but like generally where you're from, if you don't mind me asking. We've got Canadians and Americans on the stream, and I was just curious like where people kind of call in from. So, or not call in from, but like comment in from. So, but anyway, this whole thing is kind of really like really wild. Let's see. Lamnonassus, Lamnoditropus being an offshoot. So the salmon sharks being salmon shark and poor beagle being an offshoot of like white sharks and mako. Okay, I like this part. Sorry, I like this part where the great white and the mako sharks are similar. You know, like considered to be most likely the same group. That makes sense to me. Lamniform or Lamnidae seems like a pretty solid family. That makes sense to me too. Basking shark being kind of closely related to Lamnidae, that makes sense. This part of the tree is where it starts to kind of get weird for me, where it's like, you know, sand tiger shark is an offshoot. It shares a common ancestor with the Lamnidae, but it's not closely related to the other sand tiger sharks. This is so weird, and I'm starting to get actually quite sleepy, but it's really cool. I mean, I love studies like this where, they're trying to iron out like how these sharks relate to each other. I don't know how much I agree with this just based on gut instinct. I just, but it is amazing. I think the two biggest things to take away from this, actually, there's three big things to take away from this, and then we'll probably wrap up in a little bit. But the first thing is Mitsukurina owstoni, the goblin shark, is no matter what, it's either a highly derived form of any of the other group or any other lamniforms, or it's just an offshoot. It's basically its own thing. It's a highly unique animal, worthy of its own family. Very cool. The second thing is sand tiger sharks, Carcharis taurus, are clearly very distinct from the other kinds of sand tigers, Odontaspis. So the recent split of that family into Carcharidae and Odontaspididae, makes sense. These are genetically not related, or not closely related. These are like sand tiger sharks are their own thing. They're very, very different from the other kinds of sand tigers. So that's really cool. I didn't realize how much evidence or like how much of a push there was to really split them up. So that's actually really cool. And then finally, thresher sharks are... I always thought thresher sharks looked kind of similar to like white sharks and makos and poor beagles, but it looks like thresher sharks are really also super derived and really maybe kind of more distantly related than we thought. So, hey, Canada! Sorry, I just saw your comment, Sarah. Welcome. This is a very Canadian stream, actually. So, but welcome. Glad to have you here. Sorry, I was just this chart on these lamniforms. This is really throwing me off. It's like so. I don't know if I 100% agree with it, but again, just those observations of like thresher sharks being unique, the classic sand tiger being unique, and then goblin sharks being unique. I think that's probably like the biggest thing to take away from this. So let's zoom forward to the discussion, and then we'll probably wrap it up for tonight. But they're still trying to figure out these relationships. Yeah, that's a good point, Howard. I mean, it's like it's. I think for our lifetime, beyond our lifetimes, they're still going to be trying to figure out the relationships. It's so amazing, like how dynamic shark classification is. Especially, we're just starting to get into genetics. So I think genetics as a field probably started, or as far as sharks go, probably started in the 70s, and then like it really took off maybe in the 90s. So, but oh, and I'm sorry, Howard, I just saw your comment. Salmon shark or blue shark for next week? That's a good one. Let's do blue shark. Actually, I think blue shark would be really, really cool, and that would actually be kind of a cool lead into our special tiger shark stream for the following week. So let's definitely do blue shark next week. So, yeah, just gonna check the discussion, and we'll wrap up for tonight. But so Sarah, we actually do these streams every Monday, 9 o'clock Eastern. So it's a weekly stream. We talk about a different shark each week, and it's kind of like it's super casual. It's not really a lecture. It's kind of like we pick a shark and focus on that shark each week, but anybody can ask any question anytime. It's a super cool community. Everybody's super friendly and passionate about sharks and marine science. So welcome. Feel free to ask any questions or make any suggestions on sharks or music. I had Metroid music on earlier, but it got so crazy that I had to like shut it off. I was like, no. I was trying to read. It was like, there's no way. I can't concentrate on it. But anyway, so welcome. Feel free to ask anything. Our next stream will be next Monday at 9 o'clock Eastern. So, but yeah, let's see if there's any cool conclusions from the study. Given the large percentage of informed characters in the study suggests the number of morphological data is sufficient to support the results obtained? It's actually cool seeing dental morphology from the fossil record. It's cool seeing that they're implying a lot of things to this study, including the dental morphology. Oh, never mind. Dental characters were not used in the study, but instead focused on internal and external anatomy, and for this reason, our phylogenetic hypothesis contrasts with morphology-based phylogenies and include dental characters. Gotcha. Okay. And they're just talking about, like, in most of these, goblin sharks are posed as sister groups to the rest of the thing, so it's kind of like what we were talking about. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. The congruence analysis yielded a low percentage between the morphological and molecular phylogenetic trees, which suggests that there's low congruence between both types of characters in the evolutionary lineages of lambda-form sharks. Despite the low congruence between the trees, the family Lambdae is monophyletic in both analyses. This is basically just saying, like, hey, everything looks really wonky, but no matter what, we got Lambdae right. We've got the mackerel sharks correctly classified and arranged as, like, it's the family is correct. Like, it's its own family. It's its own group. Mako sharks, white sharks, and poor beagles and salmon sharks, they're really their own thing. And I totally agree with that. That feels correct. Let's see. Yeah. This is a really cool study. I would take it with some grain of salt because it's so confusing in terms of like how did all these traits evolve with lamniforms. So, okay, in conclusion, the study considerably enhanced the phylogeny of lamniform sharks by combining 45 morphological characters, blah, 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 which constitutes the best supporting evidence of the monophyly of the families Alopidae and Lambdidae, and the best phylogenetic reconstruction for this group of sharks. Although to continue enhancing phylogeny of lamniforms, it is imperative to incorporate more molecular markers. So it's basically saying we have a long way to go, but the biggest conclusion is that thresher sharks are their own thing, and mackerel sharks are their own thing, and everything else is kind of like still to be determined. So it's a really cool study, but it's kind of like we have a long ways to go. So, but anyway, I think we're gonna wrap up for tonight. It's about 11 o'clock here. But thank you guys so much for watching. And I just saw your comment, Howard. Blue shark it is. So that's going to be an awesome species to do next week. Very charismatic species. So, but I had a lot of fun with the stream. This was, I think this is a pretty good comprehensive look at goblin sharks, and with a little bit more science in between. So I had a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll meet again next week with the blue shark, and then we'll have our special guest stream the week after, and we're going to be kicking off Shark Week soon. So, but I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next time. But take care. See you guys. Bye.